microphone and
Okay,
we hear you.
okay. Well, why don't we go ahead and get the information items, since that's not a topic we have to vote on, and we can fill in the voting later when hopefully a third member shows up.
Okay.
Yeah.
You still need to call the meeting to order. So call it to order at 7:08?
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't believe that there are any oral communications. No one is here, although I am handing out, the Human Services Commission is doing a survey for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer questioning needs assessment. They had a listening event, but this is on the City of Palo Alto website. So if you are interested in taking the survey or making this available to other people in the community, I will give these to you on Minka's behalf. So, and that is open until sometime in June, early June. So, and it's for, anyone in the community, no matter what their role, is welcome and invited to take the survey. So that's the only oral communication I'm conveying on behalf of the Human Services. Okay, so so no agenda changes. No, we won't do the minutes. I did want to say that because of my new role as the interim director of community services, I am no longer going to be the point of contact for LAC. Gayatri will be here every meeting. This will just ensure that you have the right person here. So as assistant director, it's a good opportunity for her. And of course, Josh is here now instead of Evelyn. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to Gayatri for the rest of the evening.
Well, gee, we'll miss you.
Oh, I'll still come.
Okay, good.
I'll still be around, but I won't be the lead person.
Okay.
So
Okay.
four commission meetings this month is good.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
So we can't do the approval of the draft minutes right now. The second item in the agenda is student success asset card, and I will be presenting that. So why don't we go with that?
Okay.
And feel free to ask any questions anytime. Thank you very much for providing me an opportunity to present this today.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You know what? Thank you. So Palo Alto City Library and the Unified School District, we've had a long history of working together as educational partners. Some of the examples are the kindergarten drive that we do every year. We, Palo Alto Union School District students are our city library volunteers. There are many positions, including the Teen Advisory Board members. T-Lab, Teen Advisory Program members participate and provide advisory services for the library. And they also help us organize the Cram Slam, which is longer library hours for high school students during the finals week. So as we go through the pictures, you can see the kindergarten card party. Happy bunch of kindergartners there. And this is a T-Lab program that I mentioned. The advisory board members not only advise us, but also take part. And this is the final Cram Slam. So in addition to providing them with space and snacks, we also have therapy dogs and crafts. So how did we get to this card? Nationally, there are multiple projects that are linking with local libraries to support students. In 2015, there was a Connect Ed Challenge where the White House and the Institute of Museum and Libraries, they worked together to get something called Connect Ed. And what it wanted to do was to make sure that every student in a school can receive a library card and have access to books and learning resources. That was their idea at that time. And following that, ULC, which is another nationwide organization, the Urban Libraries Council, they came up with a Leaders Library Card Challenge. And locally, the Pacific Library Partnership came up with a Student Success Initiative. And the Pacific Library Partnership had asked the library to be one of the pilot libraries to implement this project. So the school district and the library, we've been working for about a year trying to work out all the details about this project. So what is a student asset card? So it is really a joint card for students. So now students can use their school library card as their library card in the library. So they will only need to carry one card, which is their school library cards, to use fully in a library. And why are we doing this? Students with access to public libraries, they show higher academic outcomes. Public libraries also provide targeted support and education in multiple areas, literacy, research skills, and reading for pleasure. We try to deliver the same message in a little bit different way. So that's like an added advantage of working with the public library, because schools are busy and they have a very specific curriculum that they need to teach. But the library has that opportunity to introduce a more fun aspect to that learning. Library familiarity in students will encourage lifelong habits, which we really try to work on. And this is also a great opportunity for the library and the school district to work together and build relationship. And in the year that we've worked with the team, it's really great to understand the school district and how it works, and for them to understand how the public library works. So we've had a really great time getting to know them. The library is also very interested and invested in helping young people grow up healthy, caring, and responsible. So these are the different developmental assets that the library specifically can be of value to the youth. We partner with Project Safety Net whenever there's an opportunity. And in fact, every month they have their meeting at the Rinconada Library, and our library staff members do attend the meeting. And when there's an opportunity to collaborate, we collaborate with them. So what's next? The first thing is an MOU. We signed an MOU with the school district. And we're currently working on a pilot project with JLS. So there are 2 or 3 classrooms that we have selected, and they have been given this full access card called the asset card. And we're testing various parts of that. Our librarians also went to JLS to do a fun scavenger hunt recently that introduces the various online resources to them in a fun way. Mm-hmm. So I hear that it was very well received. We are planning out to roll out to the other schools this fall, and also work on the outreach to the school staff and parents. So recently, the school librarians were all at the Rinconada Library for a meeting, and so we introduced our online resources, and we're very pleasantly surprised and happy to find that they knew more about our resources than even some things that we would know. They had really been invested, and they have been using it, and they were very happy to see that they could pass it on to the students. So that's what we're trying to do now. My counterpart, who is leading this project at the schools, she has presented to the principals in the schools, and so we will be presenting to wherever there's an opportunity. So right now, we're doing that outreach part. We're trying to build fun scavenger hunt-like activities to make students comfortable and familiar. The other piece that we are starting to work on is how do we present this to parents and provide them an opportunity for them to learn about this program, but also use all the resources that we have. So that's pretty much what we have. And here's my contact information. So please feel free to email me or ask me any questions now or at a later time.
Let me give you a little history on working with the school district. It goes back a long time. When Terman closed 40 years ago, there was a problem. Where are the kids going to go, and what's the city going to provide for them? And we didn't have the library facilities we have today. Of course, buildings were much smaller and didn't have the rooms like this, for example. So the libraries offered to set up a facility at Gunn. At that time, Gunn didn't have nearly as many students as they have now. They had built out the facility, but some of the wings were totally empty.
Oh.
And so the library said, well, we'll put a library in one of these wings and have some place for the children to go, and the neighborhood won't lose their local school, local library, which happens when Terman closed. And while the district was willing to talk about it, the union wouldn't stand for it. They said if we're going to have a library in the schools, it has to be a school librarian and the school union run it. And so we got into this clash between the two unions, and the city just walked away. They said, we don't want to get into this fight. Over time, I think things have changed quite a bit, both in the facilities that are available and the attitude towards how the two organizations can work together. And I'm not seeing this kind of resistance because there's not an issue whether the city library runs a program in a place or the school librarian does it. And if the city wants to provide assets to the school librarian, they'll accept it and use it. So it's a lot easier today than it was 40 years ago to do this kind of cooperation and collaboration. And I think the result is much better service to the public and the students in particular. So I'm glad to see this moving forward the way it is. And I'm looking forward to when we can put library assistants in all the branches, all the city schools, working with school librarians as necessary. It'll be different in each school, how much assets they have and how much we can provide to them. But I've been glad to see it starting, and I'm looking forward to having it spread through the whole school system. I think it's a really good way to do things for the students and for the community.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I just want to make sure that actually it means that the students' library cards at school, they can use that as the library card at city library?
Yes.
Okay. So do we have to notify the parents? Because for city library, we do have rules, like you cannot get the book back late. We'll have a late fee. Or if the book has some damage to the book, then this person has to be accountable for that. So I'm not sure how we're doing that, and the acknowledgement to the parents. And could you give us more details on that.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Definitely. We have been thinking about that. And at this point, because it's just a pilot project, we contacted the parents and of these classroom students and said, this is happening, and asked them to opt out. With all these restrictions, you're right, we do have that. You do know that the children's materials in our libraries don't have a fine. So the rest of the materials will have the same kind of fining structure, the fee structure that we have right now. And so we contacted the parents and let them know about all these things, as well as set them the policies and everything, and gave them the option to opt out if this is not something that they are comfortable with. Out of the 1,200 kids in JLS, I believe there was less than 10 or 12 that actually opted out. Everybody else wanted to opt in. And when the 62 were selected to do the pilot, we recontacted them basically and said, this is actually happening now, so do you want it? And not one said no. So we have been very careful to roll this out, and that is one of the reasons why we've had a longer testing time. Not just because of the technology part of it, which, you're really trying to marry two different systems, but we're also really trying to make sure that the parents understand what the card means. So starting next year, the idea is to add this to the packet that goes out to every parent at the beginning of the school year, along with everything else. So there you have, parents have an opportunity to go through everything, including the links and what it means being responsible as a library card holder means.
So the pilot project has been going on for a year?
The pilot with the school district has just started,
Started,
like I
just
would
a
say
few
2,
months.
3, I would say a month,
A month?
really.
Okay, so do we notice any problems so
Not yet.
far?
Not yet.
Okay.
We
it's
just started, I would say last week was the time that we actually introduced this to the students. So even though they were eligible a couple weeks ago, they had no idea. We really wanted to introduce this whole concept to them as a fun supplement to their learning opportunity beyond the school. And so our librarians actually went to those classrooms along with the school librarians and presented the scavenger hunt.
And you mentioned about the fine. You say that for the elementary, there's no fine.
For children's items,
For
yeah.
children's item. So when you say no fine, it means that no late fee, no whatsoever?
No
or-
late fee unless it becomes a lost item.
Oh,
So if it's a
okay.
damaged or lost item, then there is the same fee structure that we would charge.
But no
But
late
but
fee?
there is no late fee, that is correct.
But that's only for children's
Children's items.
section?
Yes.
Okay, but not for like, we start our pilot project with JLS, but for those teenagers' collections, we don't have
We
this
don't.
kind of privilege?
No.
No, okay. Are we considering? No, not yet.
Everything's always on the table.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we want to see how things are working out with all these, we don't want to change too much, but we want to start evaluating as to how this project is going to work. One is the technical part of it, and then the other part is to make sure that students know about it, the parents know about it, both the opportunities as well as the responsibilities.
It's pretty early in the process. They've only been doing it for about a week, but I wonder if you've gotten any comments or feedback, that the students think this is a great thing that they're not able to do, or gee, this is okay, but I wish the hours were different, or where do we sit? We don't have room anymore. Any comments from the users
Just
at all?
one, it's only really been like a week
Yeah, I
since
know,
we
it's a little early.
started. We do know that we're definitely getting a lot more tweens into the Rinconada Library. They're walking from the schools to the library, and that's been an exciting change for us.
Yes, and I think that this idea is very good because we're encouraging those students to have the library card to use our resources. But another thing is that if we have so many students who like to use our resources, our capacity, do we have enough books? The website probably, there will be no problems at all. But for the books, for instance, if they're interested in some type of books, but we don't have that as many as required or, requested. So do we have, or what kind of potential issues or problems that we might see at this point?
I think the one thing that might happen is because we have a better understanding with the school needs, is we can have an earlier conversation with the teachers, for example, to see if specific projects are going to show up, for them to let us know ahead. So, what we could, in another library that I worked, this used to happen, and so they would let us know 2 months before that there's this particular project that's coming up, and so we would pull all the books in that subject and keep them as reference only, so the kids have a room where they can go and do their research. So the first student doesn't come and check out all the 100 books, and the rest of them have nothing. So there is that mechanism when we, I think that's a planning topic that we need to be exploring if that becomes an issue. So one of the things we are doing right now is to check what are the resources that the schools have, and definitely there's no comparison between our resources and the school resources, even though the school actually has a good level of resources. So the teachers, school librarians especially, are very excited. They're especially excited about the BrainFuse. BrainFuse is a online tutoring service that we have subscribed to. So a child and also adults can actually go in and ask a question, and they will help you with that question. They don't give you the answer right away, but they really make you work to get to an answer. So it's a really great website. If you have not taken a look, do take a look at it. There's also, not only do they provide homework help, there's also a skill building part of it. So if you have an essay that you want someone to read and critique, they will do that. So that's a really great service that has been underused by our community. So we're hoping that this will help us to promote that kind of services.
I think you mentioned a very good point, because we have so many good services that people kind of maybe they don't know, or they don't know how to use it, or they don't even know we have that kind of service. So so maybe we can introduce more these services to the kids, not just to give them opportunity to borrow some fiction book or some other type of things. I think the most important thing is that they have to use the resource that we can provide. And if they don't know the resource that we have, then probably they will not use it. So this would be a very good opportunity for us to do the introduction, kind of let them know, widespread the words to them and encourage them to use all the resources.
Exactly. The scavenger hunt, that's what it did. It actually was based on 3 different resources that we have. And so the kids had to go into these resources to find the answers. So it's a fun way of introducing how to search a resource that you can use in your homework. So that's what we're hoping to bring, that element of searching. How do you locate and how do you identify something that's going to be useful for your research needs? That is something that I think libraries have always been experts at, and it'll be great to have this opportunity to provide that to our students.
And it's about a month that the school year will end.
Yes.
So what is our plan for the next school year?
So the next school year, we want to roll, all the details are not yet decided because we really want to look at this pilot and look at the lessons that we want to get from it. Is this opportunity, so if we roll it out, do we want to roll it out to everybody at a certain date, or do we want to go school by school and introduce that slowly? So that is also, I think, something that we are talking to the school district to see what works for them.
So we haven't had a plan yet for the next school year.
For the next, we know that next school year, we want to introduce it to everybody. But we are definitely like looking at, is there value in doing like a mass opening to everybody? Or is there more value doing it school by school, so that we have enough resources to help them and assist them in that? It's really going to be a journey for a lot of the students to know about these resources. And so we want to be able to be there to help them with that. If we open it up together, there's the good news about that is there is the value of everybody getting excited at the same time. So, either way, we would be able to provide really good services for them. It's just that we are working with the school to see which would be the most ideal one to do.
One more thing, the student access card, is it from middle school
No.
and above, or even elementary
Everybody.
school? So kindergarten
Kindergarten
students?
through. We
So,
really want the kindergartners to know about it so that they grow up with this idea.
okay. Okay, so,
And then
so,
convert it when they graduate from high school,
so probably
convert it
the,
to a regular card that they can use for life.
yeah, so probably the pilot project, probably we would have a very limited information about younger kids, how, their habits and how
Exactly.
they're going to use the library card. So it would be a lot of different from, bigger kids. and
Exactly,
younger
so,
kids.
middle school is different from high school even between the groups that come to the library, the high school students' needs are very different from the middle school students' needs. So we're always like trying to make sure that both those groups are enjoying the facility. So I think that's the next thing, is to figure out how different they are. And I think the school librarians have been very, very helpful in that. They have a lot of really great resources that they're making us aware of also. So I think that's why we're having a good relationship building also.
By the way, do all those elementary school students, they have a library card? I mean, at school, do
So
they?
it is the school ID number with the prefix.
Oh,
So all they have to do is to remember that school ID number, and then there's a prefix numbers that goes with it. So that's it. So they don't even have to carry their card, as long as they know what their ID number is.
One of the thoughts I had is that this time of year reminded me, because several of my grandchildren are applying to college. And it would probably be a good idea if the library and the school system would get together and gather information about how do you apply to colleges. What colleges, for example, you give the colleges in order of their rankings. So people, if you want to get to a really high-ranked college, these are the ones. And along with that, what's the tuition? What's your chances of getting the tuition either partially paid for or waived? How many, like Stanford, I think they said 60 or 70% of the students pay almost no tuition. It's almost all waived. What's the ranking in the various schools? Like, how do they rank for the engineering school versus the biology school versus the chemistry school, or, those departments, I should say, not schools. So how do they rank, so that the children could go to the library or go to the school district or work with the two of them and get a ranking of colleges they might be interested in? And, then you'd also, it'd be nice if you had a little directory on, this is how to write a really good application to the school you want to get into. These are the things they look for. And if there's a particular college that looks for something specific, and you know that, you mention that in your list of how to get into this particular school. I think that would be very helpful, and you get a lot of reaction between the library and the school system there when the kids are getting ready to apply to college. So you might take a look at something like that.
Definitely, thank you. There are some really good online resources, but I also know that, with personal experience of going through this with a teacher, it's, the counselors do help us, the school counselors do help us with, some of this detail. So I think there's opportunities for the library to help in that direction too, definitely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. So impact fees. Were you able to look at the memo? Who's that one? Oh,
It's after your presentation, in your packet.
sorry, I messed up my,
That's it.
no, this is the impact fees discussion.
It's a discussion, there were no handouts for that.
Okay, okay.
Do you want me to go ahead?
Yes, yes, thank you.
So this is a follow-up to last month's discussion about library impact fees. Bob had asked us to talk about it, and your assignment was to go away and think about what kinds of things you might suggest. And at the time, we did have a question about whether or not adding EV chargers in the parking lot, I think Amy had asked, if that could be considered an acceptable expense using the impact fees. As with everything, if it can be determined that this would create greater access to the library, then it is possible that additional EV chargers could be an allowable expense. Given the fact that we more regularly just have general complaints that there's not enough parking, particularly at Mitchell Park, I'm not sure that setting aside another EV charger would be the best use of the impact fees, but it does give you maybe some more things to think about. And, at the bottom line, if you think about it, it creates more access to the libraries, to their collections, and it cannot be like a maintenance-related expense. So you could add on to the library, you could repurpose rooms in the library, but you can't replace the carpet, for example. And then you had asked for the attachment that had been in the council report, so we made that copy for you. So this is as of the end of the year for all of the impact fees, but libraries are there in the first column. And the ending balance last June was just over $1 million. So we hadn't made any expenditures or planned on any in fiscal year 17. The only thing that had come out of this was the joint sign with the Art Center at the corner of Embarcadero and Newell, and that had been partially funded with library impact fees when we put that in. So and then, of course, Tim's memo, I think, was
Excuse me, which
Uh-huh.
which part you're talking about? Which,
the thing that was at Places tonight.
this one?
So, yeah, there's if you look on the back of the email,
Okay,
There's-
this one, right?
yeah, there's that, the memo
Yeah,
that I
that
think you had last month
one,
as
right?
well.
Okay, good,
From
thank
the
you.
attorney, and then the attachment A. So I don't know if you wanted to have any further discussion or make make any recommendations, or perhaps table this for a time, or, I suppose when there's a larger group, you could perhaps think about forming a subcommittee to think about this for a short period of time. But whatever you do will be in your advisory capacity to me and to the council.
Well, I can't think of $1 million worth of things we have to spend money on right now, but a couple of small things that maybe it's worth considering. Maybe putting in one more charger is worthwhile, because Palo Alto probably has more electric cars than any other city in the country. So I'm not saying there's demand, but at least, it's something that should be useful. The other thing that we might be able to spend money on intelligently is in the meeting areas. Do we need more seating? Do we need more tables? Do we need computers in there? Do we need TV screens, monitor screens? And anything that would be beneficial to the people using the meeting rooms, for example. Now, I don't know that people are missing anything in there, but you have a much better idea than I do about how they congregate, and if they ever come up and say, gee, we tried to plug it into the monitor, and there's no monitor we can plug into, and that's terrible, we can't have our meeting the way we want to. I don't know, but it's something to think about. And these are the sort of things that come under capital equipment, so they ought to be fundable. And the other thing that might be useful would be seating areas outside the library. We have nice weather in Palo Alto. So maybe if we put some tables and chairs out on some of the patios, people would be sitting outside and enjoying the weather and using the library more. Think about it. I'm not sure if we really need it, but it's something to consider.
So, the, the impact fee, does that mean that we will charge the people, we charge people when they use our resources?
No, an impact fees are established by the city council, and they are a fee on new construction of new homes and construction of commercial facilities, non-residential facilities, because when you build a new building or you change the building, you potentially add more people to your community. You increase the population. So when the builder builds the home, they pay a fee based on the size of the home to offset the impact, the potential future impact on the libraries. They do the same with parks. They do the same with other amenities. So this is related to housing, and it goes into an account where it must be spent in a certain amount of time or designated for expenditure for a future project. So this is nothing about fees for use of the library. This is on new construction because there will be more people who will be using the library. Yep.
Another way of putting it might be, it's not just impact, I mean, it is the impact, but another way of looking at it is, it's the demand of the use or the service or the facility that's created by adding more people to the community. Does that make sense?
So because you mentioned about the you say that, Amy, last time she mentioned about that maybe we can think about to charge for the EV use?
No, so all of the chargers in the city already do charge, but her question was, is it an allowable use of the impact fees to install more EV chargers? And the attorney has said it's possible, because you could say that maybe more people using EV cars would come to the library if there were more, creating it more of a demand on the library services. So in other communities where I've worked, it's been strictly related to materials or as Bob mentioned, capital expenditures where you've added a room or you've substantially changed, redesigned the building to accommodate the current needs.
Just a question, actually, is about the EV parking space. I know that Palo Alto has a lot of electric vehicles, but a question that I have that I don't suppose anybody can answer right now is there any place, though, that the EV parking places are all taken up? Because when I go sometimes to various locations, the EV spaces are empty. And so it just keeps somebody else from parking there. So
Right.
my interest would be, not just on the environmental side, but my interest would be like making the parking spaces, the most parking spaces available that are on demand, so that people could actually park and use the libraries.
Correct. Yeah.
So-
That is often the case, although as an EV driver, it always seems like those things are full when I'm going there, so. And with the new, with both Mitchell Park and Rinconado, we did add, there are EV chargers, about four or five public ones at each location. So those already exist, it's just whether or not we actually need more. And we certainly, because there's not a quorum, we don't have to make a decision. We could just say, okay, thank you for the information, and you can come back to this at a later date.
Yeah, I think at this point, it was informational and we can't take any action anyway, so we just postpone doing anything. And, we've made our comments, and I don't think we have to go through that again. Well, I think we're going to have a quorum.
Oh, here we go.
Sorry about that. Hi, everyone. How are we doing? I'm sorry.
Thank you for coming.
Well, carry on, Vice Chair. Don't let me stop you.
Move to approve the minutes with the correction I put in.
So you need a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
You want to vote?
Aye,
Aye.
As corrected, right?
as corrected.
As corrected.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, go ahead, Bob. You want to continue on? No, really, please do.
Yeah,
I think you've submitted it separately, correct? Did you
Yeah.
want to read that into the record, or
Oh,
are you okay with your written submission?
I think we just leave it as,
Because next month you'll get that, you will get a copy of the corrected version.
Yeah, on the page 3, the last paragraph, Ziegenheim expressed to Councilmember Holman that she has observed in other libraries.
Yes. And you changed that, you added the has.
I made it has observed instead of as overserved.
Yes, yes. Okay. We're on number 4.
4.
And you want to turn your mic on, please. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Bob, for filling in. Sorry, everybody, I was late. So library monthly report preferences discussion. Monique?
Actually, you were not here to hear that because of my new role, I am turning over running the meetings to Gayatri. It'll be great professional development for her, and she is the one who really has coordinated the revised, bigger, more robust monthly reports. So last month, because you had both a monthly report for programs and for ITC, your homework was to go home and think about how you might prefer a monthly report to be delivered. And so that's the comments we're waiting on, so.
Okay, so anyone have comments? Sheena or Bob? Is this based on this new format? Is that it?
So, no, that is from the Information Technology and Collections Department.
Okay,
And then the other is from the Public Services Department.
and that's the color one, right?
That's the color
Yeah,
one, yes.
okay.
And so our question is for you to let us know how you would like this information to be delivered.
And what are the options in terms of printed or email or format or?
For more the format.
Okay.
What kind of information is most valuable to you?
Okay, great.
You know, do you want a shorter one with more numbers? Do you want more detailed explanation about stuff? Do you like to see pictures? I mean, what is your preference?
So this is
Gina.
not like a big picture to all the community, it's
No,
just to us?
It's just your monthly report.
Oh.
Because when I first arrived here, there was no monthly report. There was a quarterly update on statistics. And over time, it's ballooned into a lot of information, which may be exactly what you want. Maybe that you prefer just getting quarterly numbers. I mean, you meet every other month, so it's a little awkward in the quarterly kind of thing. So yeah, we're just kind of looking at what's the best way for us to mash up the information and deliver it to you.
So I do like this format, at least in terms of the first page, the numbers. I think it's a handy way to kind of track progress on programs and circulation. So I'd prefer to see that continue. And then the way it's laid out, you can get a trend as well, which is usually the first question I have is when I see a number is, what's that mean? How does it compare? So I think this is a pretty good layout. As far as the detail on the activities and events, I think that's nice to have. I don't, at a glance, it doesn't really give me much. I have to read more in depth. I did like the IT report that we got, and I don't know if that is part of the discussion or if that would continue. I think that's pretty new, and I like that because it covers the collections, which we haven't really tracked before. We've discussed it, at different meetings, but to have numbers to see over time, maybe after a while, we won't find those numbers to be useful, but at least right now that was new and I thought valuable information. So, programs, circulation, collection, those are three kind of key areas, and I think we get those at a glance with these numbers. The other thing I noticed about the new report that I would love to see continue, I don't know, Bob and Sheena, how you feel or if there's any other comment. I really appreciated the layout by strategic area. So instead of just having a list of kind of activities and events for the month and nice pictures, which is always good to have, but is more of a newsletter format, to see detail and bullet points so that it doesn't take a lot of time in writing to prepare, hopefully, but to support the areas of the strategy and to see how the strategy is being kind of put into operation on an ongoing basis, I think is really handy and valuable. So I appreciated that as well about these reports. So that's my feedback on the current ones. Hopefully that's helpful. I don't want to see us put, a lot of time into it beyond what's necessary. So just to give us, information and reports. So that's what I find most valuable.
This is very helpful.
Okay, thanks, Gayatri. And Bob or Sheena, do you have things to add?
I think right now all the layouts and the information is pretty clear and in a short message. So I think when we read all these informations and we can understand what's going on, even though we meet twice a month, no, once every month, every other month. So I think we can get the pictures. So I think the format is pretty good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, our goal is to combine this and put it in a readable format for you. Thank you.
The only thing I'd suggest you consider, it didn't happen recently, but it has happened in the past. If circulation and attendance is really low on a particular branch, like because the branch is closed for repairs, just mention that.
Oh, okay.
For example, Mitchell Park was closed last weekend for bugs.
Yes.
In fact, all the branches, one after another, was closed for bugs. So it wouldn't be a bad idea in the next report to say, branches were all closed this 1 day, 2 days for fumigation. So
So
you got an
let-
idea why the circulation and the attendance is
Before
down.
anybody panics, there was no fumigation. This was in an abundance of caution. It's our once or twice a year examination.
Oh, it was an examination, it wasn't actually,
Yes,
okay.
we did not have any bed bugs at all.
Good.
We do this on a regular basis, coordinating with building maintenance. So I just want to be very clear
Okay.
that nobody thinks that was the issue.
Well, okay, when I saw the sign saying it was closed for bugs, I figured they were actually killing them, not just looking for them. Okay,
There is a press release that was supposedly posted right next to it that explains the process, but next time we will make sure that it's just a regular maintenance and not a fumigation. Thank you.
You just call it Dog Day at the library.
Just a couple other tidbits if you're interested. I'm not sure in terms of the technology system admin statistics, system records modified, created. I'm not even sure, quite honestly, what that means. I don't know if that's something we'd want to be or need to be
Okay,
tracking for this purpose.
sure.
So that section maybe, in terms of the new report. Then the other just thought I had was around circulation. And I think we used to get it in a different report from Monique, was around the ebooks and the virtual branch.
Yes.
And unless I'm missing it, it's probably included in here somewhere. But to break that out and seeing how that's trending over time, I think that's a kind of its own world and as we've talked about here, changing and growing, and it's a different
Definitely.
pricing
yes.
model. And so to be able to, at a glance, kind of see how that's progressing would be useful as well.
Sure,
Okay?
that would be great.
Yes, please.
So we're all probably too reliant on acronyms, and I think it's good to be aware that not everybody knows what acronyms are. I mean, anybody on this group knows what FOPAL is, but if anybody else wanted to access this, would they know what FOPAL is? SAP, it may be obvious because it says invoices paid in. There's a records deleted from OCLC. I don't know what that is. So I think it's just for these to be really utilitarian, to be mindful about acronyms. Like I noticed on the second page, you've got CLIR is spelled out what it is, for instance, and that's very thoughtful. So it just,
OCLC is an acronym, but it's one of those words that in the field, I couldn't even tell you what it stands for, but we should describe
Yes.
what OCLC is.
that would be really helpful, because I don't know what it is, but like I said, not everybody's gonna know what FOPAL is. Many will, but not everybody, so, okay.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. So, I think we're going to go ahead and go to the director's report, if that's okay. Any other topics that I may have missed? Okay. So, Diane had provided us a memo,
Yes.
and so I don't know if either Monique or Gayatri, you want to speak to that? Or?
Yes, so the director's report is the normal, collection of email. Diane had provided you a follow-up memo based on your recent interest in international language. There was no real discussion, it was just for your information. And then at places, there was an additional letter from the California State Library talking about how we've been selected to participate in the Aspen Institute Dialogue on Public Libraries. We are going to be one of 3 locations in California that will host the dialogue. It is a very quick turnaround. The state library found itself with a little extra grant money left over, and so they partnered with the Aspen Institute who's been doing a lot of work in the area of thinking about public libraries and the future of them. And so we've been selected. One of the things that I believe was a key to us receiving this is that it is my change in role, and the collaborations we're looking at with community services and thinking about those, leveraging the strengths of both departments. So you'll hear more about this going forward, and we may call upon commissioners to participate in different dialogues depending on their areas of interest. So what will be great is that we will have a report at the end from the Aspen Institute based on our data, based on our meetings, and it will help us, think about the future of our library and working with the community. So it's a really great opportunity, quite an honor for us to have been selected. So I wanted to make sure you saw that. I don't think that there was anything else other than that, or unless you had any questions or comments about Diane's memo.
Okay, thank you. That's really great news. Thanks for sharing that. Councilmember
Yeah,
Holman?
I don't know that this has been announced anywhere. It is one of 3 cities in the state, and I don't know that this has been announced anywhere. I don't recall it being city manager comments or on the city's website or anywhere.
We just found out, and
Okay.
this letter's dated April 20th. We only just found out, and Jim was gone. There was no meeting this week. And so you should be hearing it in city manager comments next week. And we have our very first phone meeting to help us start the process on Monday afternoon. So I'm hoping that we'll then have a better sense of who will be included and what we need to do.
Well, thank you for that. I hadn't noticed the date, but also, could you say something about what the dialogues are around, or if they're going to be developed as you have dialogue, or how's that going to work?
So, there is a framework, but the only other library in California that so far has done one is Sutter County, which is obviously very different than Palo Alto. They participated last year when there were 3 sites chosen in the country. So when I talked with Amy, who is the, Amy Garmer, who is the Aspen Institute coordinator for this, she said, because of your unique relationship and wanting to draw in community services, she said, I have to rework the framework a little bit. So I think we'll see as it comes along, and certainly the input that we provide will probably shape it as well.
Very good. And congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats, yes. So any other comments on Aspen or the memo from Diane? Any? So I did want to mention, when I looked at the numbers that Diane had provided, 2016 circulation versus 2017. So Chinese was 11,000 roughly, and then this year, the last year was 42,000. Spanish was 918, and now it's 7,000.
Right.
Russian was 3,000, now it's 6,000. Korean was 1,100, now it's 2,400, on and on down the list. And that's really, those are impressive numbers. I'm afraid to ask why, because I'd like to just say it's because we've been talking about it in these meetings, and it must have gotten on everyone's radar. This is a great publicity vehicle. But, yeah, I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
So as the purchases from, they have gone to book fairs. So there's a Guadalajara book fair for Spanish language, which we partnered with other libraries to purchase materials for us. And Diane went to a book fair in Hong Kong, which she's done now, I think, 2 or 3 times. Taiwan. And purchasing new materials, that new influx was very helpful, and I think really changed that, plus just sort of the renewed emphasis. So the purchases from the book fair, and we increased the money in Russian, Korean, and Hebrew, which also made a difference because we were able to buy more items. So she said it feels that there may have been demographic changes. Maybe there's more people coming in to use them. A lot of these things can be word of mouth. I got these books at the library. Come with me, I'll show you where they are, that kind of thing. So it's a combination,
That's great.
all due to the LAC.
Yes. And it's not just a change in how we measure, which is, that's really phenomenal. So I'm so pleased, honestly, that, to see these kind of results, and it was something we talked about, really at a higher level, but to see this happen, and this is, real readers and real hours spent in the library, reaching, the community and new parts of the community in different ways. And I know when we started the discussion, there was kind of a question of, is there the demand there, right? And how would we know? And, and we kind of took a little bit of a leap of faith, I think, pursuing it. But to see it, some of these numbers is just really great to see the investment, and then that it really is worth it, and that there is this demand. So I think it's just phenomenal. It's a great story. So thank you so much, and really appreciate you working with
Thank
working
Diane.
with us. Yeah,
She's working on that.
and
hard.
Diane. Yes, thank Diane, definitely. Okay.
I have a comment. I think it'd be a good idea if you put out basically a press release to the Weekly and the Post at the very least, and maybe try to put it in the packet so that the community gets it. Just reporting on this increase in the use of foreign language media. And just say, well, some people don't realize that we have all of these available, but we do, and look at how desirable it is and how many people are now using it, and then see if we get even more people using some of these foreign language books.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks again. So moving on to council liaisons report. Councilmember Holman, you have anything to?
I don't have anything to offer. Terrible thing to say. But I don't relate it to the LIC right now. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. So commissioners' reports and questions. Well, we probably had plenty of questions already, but any reports?
I had a comment on some of the activities that the library is doing. First of all, when you look at all of the events that the library is sponsoring, it's very impressive. And it's really a wide range of activities for the community. I think we have to get the word out more, that these are available, that people can come to the library and participate in these things. And the one that struck me was the adult event, March 22nd, Welcome to America for immigrants, and only one person that shows up. And some of the others, only 3 or 4 or 5 people showed up. And obviously, the word isn't getting out that the program is available and here's the time and location. I'm not sure what the best way of getting the information out is, but I think we have to spread the word more widely and see if we can get more people in the community involved. Because having a library event where only 1 or 3 or 5 people show up it's nice that we're doing it, but it's not the benefit to the community that I'd really like to see.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Did this come up at all previously?
No, the proclamation for the Friends
Yeah, is that something we want to?
that we gave, yeah, you go ahead and.
I'd forgotten that was since the last meeting here. Yeah, there was faux pas. Friends of Palo Libraries has, or is celebrating its 80th year in existence this year. And so they came to the city council meeting and received a proclamation in recognition of that. It's a pretty substantial accomplishment, 80 years, and all the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't know what the total is offhand of what they've contributed to the city libraries, but it's pretty remarkable.
Yes, and thanks to our friends at the Friends, once again. So I just wanted to, noticed in your report, Monique, the mention of Bob a few times. Is that our Bob?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that's a staff member. So, yeah, so
I
that's
was
one
going
of the
to
things.
thank Bob for all his extra work. I know he does
That
a
is
lot
a-
for our libraries,
That
but
is a
that's
staff
above and
member
beyond.
named Bob who
Okay.
does a lot of
Well,
interesting work and,
Thanks to Bob as well.
yes, so,
Okay.
so actually, Bob is working on, a historical presentation coming up in July, Gayatri?
July.
July, we are going to be celebrating the birthday of what was formerly the main library and now is Rinconada. And there will be presentations about the architecture and the architect himself, and so that Bob is working on gathering a lot of that historical information. So keep an eye out, you will receive an invitation to that.
Okay, great. And that's in July?
That is in July,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
Since you brought up the Rinconada Library, so coming up May 17 to 20, the California Preservation Foundation Conference is coming to Palo Alto for the first time in 40 years. And the reason it's relevant to this is because in 2015, the Rinconada Library rehabilitation and addition that was done so sensitively received a CPF award, and a lot of the there are a number of tracts and tours and stuff this year at the conference that have to do with Eichler and mid-century modern design, which the Rinconada Library is, and one of the events is going to be held at the Art Center, an evening event, and so people will be seeing the Rinconada Library. The conference is, again, May 17 to 20, and there are opportunities to volunteer, opportunities to register. The plenary session is going to be at St. Thomas Aquinas Church, and it's going to be a panel discussion, and the moderator is going to be Rachel Myro from NPR. So that's a free to the public event. So you just go to the California Preservation Foundation website, and you can get a download of information for that. Okay?
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, great. Let's see, comments and announcements. I think we kind of did some of that as well. Agenda for next meeting.
Can I mention one
Yes.
thing?
Oh, yeah.
Next week, May 1st, 7 p.m. at the Art Center. Clay Jenkinson as Theodore Roosevelt. If you have not signed up or let Gayatri know that you're coming as a VIP, then you're going to be out. But everybody who's listening at home, you can sign up online right away, because they have, we have over 100 people already registered to come, and we're looking forward to this event very much. So don't miss out. And it is an event made possible by the Bill Lane Center for the American West from Stanford, as well as the city manager's office and the library. So
What's the capacity? You said you already had
150, so I think we'll be okay.
100, well, we've got a little bit more than, that's my cushion.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we do have up to 130 signed up now. So, including the VIP list as well as the signups. So we have increased our seating already today. Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. So any items for the next meeting? I think one item is, given the summer schedules, I was hearing from some of the commissioners, I don't know if it's possible to do a doodle poll or something around that to just check and see who can make it so we have a quorum. And if not, maybe we need to reschedule. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Other items that we'd want to put on the agenda for now?
I'd like to get an update on how the schools and the libraries are working together, because it's too early now, but by the next meeting, it'll be over 2 months. We'll have an opportunity to see how things are meshing. And if any problems have come up, or if there's anything that the library has to do in order to make it work better, so we can try to make it more effective. But I think it's a good thing to be working with the school district, and I think we should be getting as much benefit from the joint effort as possible. So I'd like to find out just what's happening after a few months, because 1 week isn't enough time to tell whether we have any issues or what they might be.
Definitely.
Okay, great. Gina, any thoughts?
So, because we have less members today, and we talked about impact fees, but only me and Bob here. So do we want to continue the topic next time?
What is the timing on that, Monique? Would that,
There's no timing. It's part of the
It's an
budget
ongoing.
process. It's an ongoing thing. And one of the things that I had suggested was if there was a larger group, you guys could even decide to have a subcommittee working on it if you wanted to, so.
okay.
But that would, require action and,
And a quorum to have action.
well, yes, now we have a quorum, but
I think we had a subcommittee here earlier. Okay, great. So that's another good idea, and it sounds like the timing will work, so, okay?
And the time, and I remember that you and the other commissioner would not be able to attend on June 28th. Do we
Possibly, yeah.
talk about the time now, or we email each other afterwards?
I think we can do that offline, understand what schedules are for the summer and who's around.
Okay.
All right? In a timely fashion, though. We can't wait till. No. I'm sure that's not a problem. Okay, other thoughts? And certainly we can always add to the agenda as we go along, so. Okay. Great. All right, well, thank you, everyone. And I want to thank Bob for leading the meeting before I could get here. Sorry again, I was late. And Bob, you did a great job because it's not even 8:20 and we're almost done, so thanks so much.
You're welcome. I'll move we adjourn. How's that?
I'll second.
Okay, and I'll third that. Okay, all in favor, yay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, everyone.